Hello, and welcome to the Movie Mouth Film and TV Podcast. This is your co-host Miles, and on this week's show, we have a review of Netflix's smash hit Umbrella Academy Season 2, the latest movie news, trailers, listener questions, and a quarter-of-a-century-old birthday for our old friend Kevin Costner's Waterworld, the aquatic blockbuster Misfire, in our video store corner. Dry land is not a myth. I have seen it. I need to pause for a moment because my ever-plagiarized introduction for my shipmate is wave-a-ring on the dark side. So please take this with a glass of purified urine and a pinch of salt. He's not a freak, and he can take you anytime. He's killed dozens of people, and he doesn't have any mercy or anything. He even kills little girls. Getting nervous, aren't you? He doesn't have a name, so death can't find him. Doesn't have a home or people to care for. He's not afraid of anything. Men, least of all. He's strong and fast, like a big wind. He has a lot of wind. He can hear 100 miles and see 100 miles underwater. He can hide in the shadow of the noon sun. He could be right behind you and you won't even know it till you're dead. He'll come for you. He will. It's Phil.
Hello. I've also got fishy gill ears.
Can I just say one thing for our lawyers?
Web feet.
He doesn't kill little girls. That was just in the script of Waterworld, and I'm
I
just
don't do that.
rehashing it here. Good. How are you, Phil?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Melting in this heat right now. It's
It is
ridiculously
hot today.
Whew.
It is a hot day.
Today's the kind of day where I feel like the world is about to turn into a water world.
I sort of wish it did today a little bit.
Me too. I could do with a swim.
Yeah. I do have a cold beer though, so that helps.
Oh, I have a cold Evian.
How very. That's not as good.
Well, I agree with you. But I won't be drunk by the end of this, and you will. So, shame on me, I guess. What have you been watching this week? Have you been watching anything fun on
I've gone a bit mad this week.
Okay.
I did a lot of late night binge watching this week.
I'm glad you finished that with binge watching.
Yeah. So, this week, I have been mostly watching. I watched The Shining. I watched Jaws 2, or Jaws the Revenge, as I believe its full title.
Yep.
I watched Pacific Rim. All of these were just on late night TV, and I just happened to turn on when they just started, so I couldn't stop. I think most of them ended about 2 a.m. as well. So yeah, I've watched a few films this week that I've not seen. I've seen all of those before, but not for a long time. So it was quite nice to see all those again.
All fantastic films. Question for you about Jaws 2, The Revenge.
Yeah.
Is it the revenge of the shark, or is it the revenge of Brody? Because the shark dies in the end. Spoiler alert. The shark fucking dies at the end. But Brody also gets to kill another shark. So is it actually Brody's revenge on the shark? Because the shark isn't revenging, because the shark dies.
Yeah, unless they're related. It might be the shark's son or something from Jaws 1.
They should have called it Jaws 2, Brody's Revenge. That's what they should have called it.
Maybe.
Just have
he doesn't have as
electrocuting sharks with like cables.
He doesn't have as hard a time in Jaws 2, does he? He sort of knows what he's doing. He just gets a boat, goes out there, kills a shark.
Exactly. He's become Quint, basically, with fewer scars.
Yeah. Maybe it is his revenge. I don't know. Unless, as I said, unless the shark in Jaws 2 is related to the shark in Jaws 1.
The one scene I remember in that that's terrifying is when the shark goes under the yacht, the sailboat.
Yeah.
You see it
they're
from
all on
above.
like the little skiff things.
Yes, and you see it from above.
Yeah. It also, in probably the most ridiculous part of the film, takes out a police helicopter that lands on the water to save the kids, and then the shark just comes out and takes the helicopter underneath and sinks the helicopter with the.
What about in is it Jaws 4 where with Michael Caine?
What?
where the shark. You haven't seen it? I think it's Jaws 4,
No.
where the shark basically takes out an aeroplane piloted by the pilot, which is Michael Caine. And at this point, Brody's widow, his wife, is basically seeing like Michael Caine, or kind of flirting with Michael Caine. Michael Caine plays Hoagie, and you've got Ellen Brody, played by Lorraine Gray. So Michael Caine kind of crashes on the water, and Lorraine Gray and the daughter Carla Brody and all that, they're all still on a boat watching. And in true Indiana Jones style, you see the shark ripping this plane apart, like eating the side of this plane, climbing inside it, and eating the cockpit. And in true Indiana Jones style, Michael Caine pops up on the boat, on the other side of the boat from where they're looking, and stands next to them, watching the shark eating the plane, and just utters, "God, a bloody breath on that thing."
Shut up! You just made that up.
No. It's a true story. True story.
Wow, I need
God,
to
a
see
bloody
that
breath on
immediately.
that thing. Yeah.
This part is called the shark.
The first part is called Bruce. The second part is called the plane. The third part is called the breath.
Wow, I need to see that.
You do? Well, I think we're going to be talking about that next week.
Brilliant. The other thing I watched is this is one that's been on my added. You know, you get your Netflix list and you add things to it, and a couple of years go by, and you think, oh yeah, I need to watch that. And I'm about 5 or 6 episodes into the first series of Happy.
Ah,
I don't know,
yes.
have you seen that?
I've had multiple recommendations to watch this.
It's brilliant. I love it. It's really good. And
what do you like about it?
As I said, I added it to my list. It looked crazy. I saw the trailer for it, and it's about an ex-cop that goes a bit mental. He's ultra violent, and suddenly gets not haunted, but joined by his daughter's imaginary friend in the shape of I think it's a unicorn. It's a small unicorn horse thing with buck teeth, and it's great.
Love it. That's Christopher Maloney, right? He's in that. He's in
Christopher Maloney, and he's awesome.
Wet Hot American Summer.
Awesome in it. It's really violent. It's really funny. It's awesome.
Yeah. So have you watched all of season 1 and season 2, or are you just?
No, just I think I'm up to episode 6 of 8 of series 1, and there's 2 seasons, I think. So
I'll have to
most
check
of the
that
way
out.
through series 1. Oh, you got to watch it. It's great.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I've heard it's very,
good fun.
very good. I've heard it's very good, and it sounds right up my alley. Dark humor.
Yeah,
crime based.
It's great.
I've been watching season 2 of Succession, the HBO kind of dark comedy show in the vein of The Thick of It. Actually, I think Jesse Armstrong, the show creator, was actually working on The Thick of It, and a few of the other kind of similar comedies that have been out there, like Veep. But this Succession's a great show. Have you seen season 1 of Succession?
I have not. No.
Okay, so it's about basically the Roy family. They're a tycoon family led by the wonderful Logan Roy, played by Brian Cox, and he plays this kind of Rupert Murdoch-like King Lear media billionaire. And as he's kind of running his own companies, he has basically 3 or 4 children, I think it is, who are all kind of vying for the control of the company when he retires or dies or whatever. And it's about the kind of ruthlessness of them all. It's really dark. They're all sociopaths.
I remember seeing the trailer for this now. Yeah.
It is so freaking good. It's so good.
Yeah.
Every episode is incredible. I'm on season 2. There's an episode in season 2 called The Boar on the Floor. And it's just this family game that everything is so kind of passive aggressive, and there's this family game that Brian Cox plays, but basically he ends up basically humiliating a number of people, and it's just deliciously dark. A lot of people don't like it, a lot of people love it. It's that kind of thing. I love it because it's so dark and awkward comedy, and basically in every scene Brian Cox just inappropriately tells people to fuck off. It's absolutely brilliant. Just the end of every scene, just like "fuck off now," and people just—it's absolutely amazing.
And what's that on?
That's on HBO, so it'll probably be on
Okay.
Now TV in the UK and Europe,
Yeah.
and other streaming platforms around the world. But that's absolutely freaking amazing. And then also, I've been watching, in a slight twist, a reality travel show called Extreme Engagement on Netflix, it follows an Australian couple who recently got engaged, and they decide to travel the world together and visit different cultures and discuss monogamy and engagement and marriage rituals. And they stay with tribes in like Papua New Guinea and stuff like that. And they have to
Okay.
build a kayak and find like a chicken egg, because this egg is gonna, in the middle of the jungle, is gonna basically tell them whether or not that she's fertile. All this kind of stuff. It's real. It's actually really cool. It's one of those cool kind of travel things to watch, and especially if you've been in quarantine for a long time, like all of us, just seeing other places
Yeah.
is good.
Bit
So
refreshing.
really refreshing. So pretty good. I watched a couple episodes of that, and I'm
Okay.
keeping on with that. But to be honest, I binged season 2 of Succession this week, and I feel a little bit dirty. But I also feel like I could take over a media tycoon's empire right now. I'm ready to go. I'm absolutely ready to go.
And I'd come in and you'd be like, fuck off.
Fuck off. So let's jump into this week's listener question. This week, we heard from Gavin in the UK, who says, "Hi, Miles and Phil. The other week, you guys talked about Dread, a movie I really wish they made a sequel to." Me too, Gav. My question
Me too.
is, what sequel do you wish they would make? What sequel do you wish they never made? And what is the greatest sequel of all time?
I
Phil,
mean,
what sequel do you wish they would make?
wish they would make this one's really hard for me because generally any film that I hold dear, that I love in its entirety, generally I don't want them to fuck with it and do another one. So, because you don't, no one wants a film that they love ruined by a shit sequel.
Roger that. Roger that.
Um, I would say, so I'm treading lightly here, and this is one that's particularly dear to me, and it could be ruined. But I was trying to think of one that would work now with a lot of the reboots and sequels that are coming out of 80s classics. I thought maybe the Goonies could work. I mean, I really don't want them to mess with it because the original is amazing. But if they could get the original cast back together, and I mean, it does help that I watched the Reunited Apart episode on YouTube where they about the Goonies and sort of saw them all together again. But you could see that working. You know, it could. I suppose if it was going to go down the predictable route, it could be the kids of the adults that are now a similar age that they were in the 80s, and they could go on some sort of madcap adventure together.
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it link back to the original in some way. Like maybe they've all struggled, you know, in life for some reason because of something to do with One-Eyed Willie's treasure. You know, I don't know, and
Yeah,
they have to go back to kind of to do something. You know, that would be quite cool.
yeah. Or they meet up for like a reunion type thing, like years later, and then end up on some sort of like City Slickers,
Well,
where they
it
think they're on
sounds
that,
like
where they think they're on some sort of treasure hunt.
it sounds like It Chapter 2. Did you see the new It movies?
I only saw the first one of those.
So It Chapter 2, they all meet up in this Chinese restaurant, and they basically decide to go back on another adventure. It's really good. It's almost, if not as good as the original,
Okay.
the for Chapter 1. Um, really, really good. So it kind of that could work quite well. I don't want to see
No,
young kids playing Goonies.
no, I think I've put myself off of it just by saying it out loud. I
Yeah,
wrote it down, but now saying it, I don't want to hear that.
CGI sloth.
I mean, one thing I thought would work, and they've actually done it now. I think they're filming it now. Is Coming to America
Oh yeah, coming to
2, which is
America
brilliant. Um, yeah, that's in production now. I think.
with friend of the show Wesley Snipes.
Yeah,
He's in there.
yeah. I think that could be good fun, and it was good to see because I think Eddie Murphy's picked up a bit again because he had a period of making some absolute
Dolomite was
shockers.
amazing. Dolomite was
Dolomite was
amazing.
great. Dolomite for me was like his return to being awesome
Yeah,
after a string of horrendous films.
yeah.
Um, so I think this could be awesome. But who knows? I don't think the original is a great comedy 80s classic, and I love it. But I don't think nothing's going to ruin it, really.
Yeah, as long as you can buy a Big Mick instead of a Big Mac.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that could be good. What about
That's
you?
cool. I always think, I mean, it's tough actually because the one movie that I really wanted to become a sequel is becoming a sequel, and that is obviously I go on and on about it. But Tron Legacy, I love that movie. The cliffhanger ending where we see Sam and Cora escape the from obviously from the arcade machine and jump out into the real world. That has left me hanging for a long time. I want to see what's going on. And that obviously may now be a thing with Disney Plus greenlighting the sequel.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm really looking forward to. But most important, I want the team behind Tron Legacy to come back because the cinematographer was incredible. Daft Punk was amazing on the soundtrack. The director Joe Kosinski is also amazing and is going on to bigger and better things. But I would love to see those people back because visually it was stunning and from an audio perspective was stunning as well. Another sequel that I would. This is more of me being a sadomasochist. But what I would really like to see is Nick Cave's script, the musician Nick Cave from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. He wrote a script for Gladiator 2. And this is a real thing.
Yeah, I read about that.
And spoiler alert, Russell Crowe, aka Maximus Decimus Meridius, dies at the end of Gladiator. But in Nick Cave's script, and this is a real thing, we actually see Maximus in the underworld fighting giant beasts to plot his escape back to the mortal coil.
Sold. Sold.
Slaying beasts in the underworld. I'm in.
Awesome. I'm definitely in for that.
So get that bad boy made. I mean, it's not going to make any money, but just because I want to see Russell Crowe, especially as he is now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I want to see him in
squeezing into the old armor.
Oh yeah. That'd be a winner.
So what would you say in terms of a sequel that you wish they had never made?
I've got a long list of these, and I'm going to reel off a few of them.
Me too.
Dumb and Dumber 2.
Is that Dumb and Dumberer or Dumb and Dumber 2 T-O?
T-O.
Yep.
And just after that, I was going to say, even worse was Dumb and Dumberer.
Yep. Never saw it. Love Dumb and Dumber. Never saw Dumb and Dumberer.
Don't ever, because I honestly could only stomach about 2 minutes of it before I had to turn it off. It was that awful. So they shouldn't have been made.
What about Van Wilder 2, The Rise of Taj?
Oh, God. I've put Jaws 3D, going back to Jaws. Jaws 3D is...
But not Jaws 4 with Michael Caine.
Well, I've not seen it, so I can't judge.
The bloody breath on death.
But Jaws 3D, wow. No. It was awful. Universal Soldier, The Return.
Question, did you actually see Jaws 3D in 3D, though?
No, but
well, so...
it would make it no better. It's like the worst 3D, like rubbish bits of Jaws, like shark guts coming. If
you felt like you were actually in that underwater theme park thing in 3D,
it was the most detached 3D experience I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, Universal Soldier: The Return, awful.
Was that the one with Bill Goldberg?
Bill Goldberg, the wrestler. Wow. Fun fact, that was one of the first DVDs I saw. Like when DVD came out.
Did you see it and then not see it because you threw it straight in the bin?
I was like, look at the quality of the picture, but not the quality of the motion picture.
Look at the shine on Goldberg's head.
It's high definition. That was terrible. Halloween H2O, awful.
Awful.
RoboCop 3, awful. Speed 2, pretty awful.
Cruise Control.
Yep. Speed 2, Cruise Control. And
with
then
Jason Patrick. I love it when they say at the beginning, oh yeah, she was dating Keanu Reeves, but she's moved on now. Now she's dating another guy from the same team.
Yeah. Oh man, that's bad.
Poor old Jack.
And then this isn't really sequel related, but I hate the remakes thing. You know, like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Why have they got to remake that?
Yeah.
Hellboy, reimagine that.
But Girl with the
No.
Dragon Tattoo, the David Fincher movie, was a great movie.
Yeah, but they didn't need to do it.
They didn't need to do it. I agree. But that's Hollywood.
Yeah, I know. Wreck is the same.
Yep.
Yeah, they just don't need to do a lot of these annoying remakes just for the sake of it being not a foreign language film when it's already clearly
I'm not
good
sure
enough.
that a remake constitutes as a sequel, though. So I think
I don't. So
I think we
I'll take
expunge
that
them
away.
from the list.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I just got angry and I had to write it.
Is that done? I feel like we're
I'm sorry,
here
I'm
all
done.
night.
That was yeah.
You're
Sorry,
an
that was a long list.
angry man, Phil. You're an angry man.
They just shouldn't do it, Miles.
I want them to stop. So for me, I'm a little bit more high budget than some of your sequels that you threw out there, because many of yours were, let's face it, bargain bin, bottom of the bargain bin, straight to video.
What, Jaws 3D?
I mean, that was obviously played in 3D theaters around the world in the fucking 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All three of them. So the sequel that I wish never existed, clearly, is Star Wars The Last Jedi, because it's a pile of shit. Finn horseback riding around Monaco, bless him. Luke being a complete douchebag, just completely giving up on the whole Jedi stuff and being an old grumpy dick. Oh, and who could forget seeing your childhood hero tit milking a sunbathing walrus beast for its blue lactose fluids and spilling it down his beard? Milk was a bad choice.
I mean, that was odd.
It's a pile of shit. It's an absolute pile of shit. Leia being force sensitive and she gets blown out of the spaceship and now she's able to levitate in space and magnetically pull herself back inside without the oxygen.
Everyone will be doing that.
I'm sorry. I like Rian Johnson. I love his creativity. I liked Brick. I like Looper. Loved Knives Out. Nothing against him whatsoever. Love all his Breaking Bad episodes, like Fly. The Last Jedi was a pile of wank, and even to this day, it makes me angry just thinking about it. So terrible, so bad.
Yeah.
So, and obviously then JJ had a ton of shit having to try and bookend this trilogy and try to kind of retcon a lot of the stuff that was raised in that, while having to deal with obviously Carrie Fisher's passing and bringing in Palpatine. Basically, they killed Snoke, the bad guy from the whole series, and then were left with no villain. So, because obviously the storyline from the start was a redemption story for Ben Solo. Yeah. So they really messed up with that for me. Really messed up with that. And then, obviously, and then that final Rise of Skywalker, Ben Solo basically decides that he's going to be good because he imagines his dad is alive and talking to him on the ship after he's been stabbed. I mean, it's not even a Force ghost. He literally just imagines. He's actually telling himself to be good.
He's just mental.
And then he turns up in that silly bollocks Sith cave without his shirt on, beats up the Knights of Ren, who, let's face it, were utter crap, and then gets blown off a cliff by Palpatine, and then dies. The end. So, shite. I like The Force Awakens, but I think shite. I think they really dropped the ball with that one. Another sequel that it didn't so much make me angry as it was just crap was Independence Day Resurgence.
Oh God, yeah.
So just awful, god awful. The fact they didn't get Will Smith, I think, was a huge problem for this movie.
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum was obviously in here, but I couldn't even tell you what the plot was. They were sucking up parts of the cities and then spitting them down on other parts of the world or something. Visually, it looked fun.
I completely blocked out that film.
Yeah, me too. There was nothing fun in there. There was no, it wasn't. They didn't go too serious. They didn't go too fun. They just weren't really having any fun with it. The one scene in there that I just was like, I nearly stood up and walked out of the cinema. Yes, I paid to see this. Was when Jeff Goldblum's dad, he hijacks a school bus full of kids in New York, and he drives to New Mexico with them all on the bus. And he just pulls up in the middle of the desert, and Jeff Goldblum happens to be there. And he's like, "Oh, David, what are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh,
what
I'm
are the
just here.
chances?
Just what are the chances of seeing you here in the middle of the fucking desert?" Just a terrible, terrible film. Terrible.
I've forgotten the amount of times I've seen old friends in the middle of the desert by
I
accident.
know. Actually, I have seen old friends in the middle of the desert, believe it or not. That has actually happened to me, but it wasn't Jeff Goldblum or his dad, so it gets nil point from me in this occasion. So what about the greatest sequels of all time? Have you compiled a small list like I have?
Yeah, I have. In no particular order. For me, I'm just going to put them out there. So,
Do it.
Empire Strikes Back,
Yeah.
Aliens,
Yeah.
Terminator 2, and I'm putting Back to the Future 2 on there as well.
Love all of them. I think Aliens is a really interesting one. So, firstly, going from being this like lo-fi, basically slasher horror, on a small scale, to being an action romp with the colonial marines and the atmosphere and everything. And it's a long fucking movie as well.
It's
a long
incredible,
movie.
though.
So incredible. The balls on Jim Cameron saying, basically going from Alien and saying, "What are we going to call the sequel?" Well, Aliens. Because
Should add an S.
There's more than one. Brilliant.
Done.
Sigourney Weaver's amazing in it.
Everyone's amazing.
Bill Paxton, Michael Biehn.
It's so tense. I mean, the first one's amazing as well, obviously, but the second one is one of my favorite action thrillers.
They're in the walls, man.
It's so tense. That heartbeat sensor, the sound of their rifles, the pulse rifles, is like the best movie gun sound ever.
Yeah.
And just it still looks incredible. And
is it as good as Danny Glover's pocket cannon from Lethal Weapon movies? Because when he fires that fucking thing, Jesus, my whole house shakes.
No, it's still the pulse rifle wins. It's going to win any film gun sound ever. That's the coolest thing.
That is a cool.
Plus, it's got a shotgun attachment.
Yeah.
Best movie weapon probably goes to that. Yeah, it's just incredible, and it still looks amazing. I think it looks so ahead of its time. It's great.
It really does, and actually, in the director's cut, which I think is superior, with the automated.
The turret thing.
Turrets.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
And he's shouting out the percentages of how many.
Yeah, they run out of. They run out of the bullets.
50%. 50%. They're still coming. Oh my god.
I need to. Can I? I'm going to stop the podcast so I can go and watch it.
Yeah, I think I will too. I'll speak to you in 2 hours and 52 minutes. All right.
Okay, mate. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was Aliens. Loved it. Yeah, I mean, I've got that on my list as well. I'm surprised you didn't have a couple of things I think you missed. I also have Back to the Future Part 2. Yeah. I think it is good. It does. Like, if you watch that as a standalone movie, though, it's not great because it.
I agree. As a standalone,
a lot of questions.
As part of it all, it's amazing.
But what kind of psychopath would watch Back to the Future 2 on its own and not watch the first one before it or the next one after?
That's right.
Like any Back to the Future watch involves all three. You know what I mean? Like once you've done the first, you're like, fuck it, I've got to watch them all now.
I'll just put it on now.
Yeah, I'll just put this on for 9 hours of Back to the Future. It's true. Incredible. Surprised you didn't say the Two Towers.
Oh, well, I was going to write that, but I thought I had enough.
You do.
But that is amazing. Yeah, it's phenomenal. The Helm's Deep battle, blimey.
I think the only other one that for me you missed was Godfather Part 2 of the classics.
Yeah.
I think like De Niro in that is friggin' amazing. And also Al Pacino's storyline, his character arc when he goes from being the innocent blue-eyed boy coming back from the army to basically being the Godfather, replacing Brando, the thing he never wanted to do. I love that character arc is amazing.
Yeah, it's good.
I got a couple others from left field. So I loved Blade Runner 2049. I thought it was amazing, really good. Did you see that one?
I did see it. I saw it on a flight, I think.
From somewhere. That's the kind of movie you really need to watch it on the biggest fucking screen possible, not on an aeroplane.
Yeah. Actually, I saw it on the flight coming back from visiting you in New York.
Ah, that
I
was
think. Yeah.
that's awesome then. In that case, perfect.
Yeah.
But no, I love that movie. I think it's great. Really slow burn. Really kind of somber atmosphere. Intelligent. Love the visuals again. Love the
Yeah.
soundtrack by
Did look good.
Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wolfish. Love that stuff. Just a peach of a movie. I saw it twice in the IMAX cinema. Actually, I loved it that much. Born Supremacy.
Yeah, that's good. That is
Absolutely
good.
fucking amazing movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. The way it starts with his partner being killed, being shot in the head.
That's spoilers.
I mean, if you haven't seen that movie, come on.
Yeah, you should watch it.
But the way it brings him back in, and I think Born Supremacy really is it takes all the credit for reinventing Bond with Casino Royale. It was
Yeah.
really the step in that right direction that I think has moved Bond forward as well.
Yeah.
And I think it doesn't get the credit it deserves these days. A lot of people talk about Born
And like
Ultimatum.
Mission Impossible as well. Like that kind of
Yeah,
all of those sort of better later ones of that franchise.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I'd actually put all of the Mission Impossible sequels in there, except Mission Impossible 2, because it's a pile of John Woo-sized poo.
Yeah, that's quite bad. I should have put that in the wish they never made part.
Yeah, true. Let's put that in. Let's slide that in. And then my final one is an unusual one, but it is a sequel that I believe is superior to the original.
Mhm.
It is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think I. Oh.
Come on, who at Christmas time doesn't want a
Oh no.
Griswold family Christmas?
I watch it without fail every Christmas.
Shitters fall.
I
That's
mean,
you. Your cousin Eddie.
I am.
Eggnog, Eddie.
And
You would definitely
yeah,
go out and kidnap my boss, tie him to a chair, and like force him to pay me my bonus.
I would. And and you'd definitely get locked in the attic watching Family Memories on an old projector screen, wearing like
Women's clothing.
women's clothing, crying.
100%.
Yeah.
So that was this week's listener question. Thanks for that one, Gavin. Really fun answering that one.
I enjoyed that.
If anyone else has got a listener question, please do reach out to us on our usual channels through Instagram at Movie Mouth Podcast, on Facebook, or if you know us, drop us a bloomin' WhatsApp or a text message. Get in touch. So in this week's news, we got a lot of stuff to get into this week. I'll round it off. I'll start out with the latest Emmy nomination news that was announced this week. The nominations are now in for 2020, and Netflix is racking up a huge 160 total nominations for their content this year, which is insane. But leading the pack, we have a number of shows. Watchmen is the leader with 26 nominations in total, which is looking like it may well be picking up a lot of wins. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Amazon Prime, currently at 20. Succession on HBO, as we mentioned earlier, on 18. Ozark on Netflix, 18 nominations. Schitt's Creek, which is a show that's really flourished. I haven't actually had the time to dip into this, but getting a lot of good feedback from this. This was one of those initial Netflix comedies that kind of went under the radar, and it's really grown steam over the last couple of seasons. So Schitt's Creek is currently on 15, and we'll round that list off with The Mandalorian, also at 15 nominations. Obviously, the Disney Plus Star Wars series, which fans seem to enjoy. And when we look at the outstanding drama series, so we have Better Call Saul, The Crown, The Handmaid's Tale, Killing Eve, The Mandalorian, Ozark, Stranger Things, and Succession. Now that is a really tight list of drama. I mean, tough to say who's going to walk away with it there. Better Call Saul, The Crown, Handmaid's Tale, Killing Eve, The Mandalorian, Ozark, Stranger Things,
There's
Succession.
some strong contenders there.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I personally would. I don't know. I would probably say Succession, just because I'm currently addicted to it. But having The Crown, I don't think that this was the strongest season of The Crown, which is obviously season 3 that I'm referring to. I would say the same for The Handmaid's Tale as well. Killing Eve, again, I didn't love season 2 or 3. I think season 1 was brilliant. The Mandalorian, I think, was above average. Maybe not the most incredible thing on TV this year,
Yeah,
but good. Ozark, again, massively impressive. And Stranger Things, I think that's that season that came out, season 3 last summer, was just wonderful, amazing
yeah,
stuff.
it was good.
Really,
Better Call
yeah.
Saul though is fantastic. It's one of my most enjoyed programs series.
Are you up to date with it as well?
Yeah, I am. I love it. I absolutely love Better Call Saul.
Wow,
I prefer it to Breaking Bad.
really?
Yeah,
That's saying something.
I love it. I really love it. I think he Bob Odenkirk is absolutely phenomenal in that
Yeah,
show. He's great. All the performances are good in it, but it's funny, it's clever, it's brilliant.
no, I love him. No, I
Yeah,
absolutely love him. And strangely, he actually hasn't been nominated for the outstanding lead actor in a drama series. That falls to Steve Carell in The Morning Show, Jason Bateman in Ozark, which is good to see because I think he's really kind of plumbed some depth in Ozark. Billy Porter from Pose, the FX Netflix show. Brian Cox in Succession, who, as I said, fuck off. Jeremy Strong also in Succession, playing his son. Absolutely brilliant in that as well. And Sterling K. Brown in This Is Us. So some good nominations there, but I think missing a few, I would say.
yeah,
The comedy series, we're looking at Curb Your Enthusiasm, which has been nominated, Dead to Me on Netflix, The Good Place, Insecure, The Kaminsky Method with Michael Douglas and Alan Arkin, which I really enjoyed on Netflix,
right.
The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel again, Schitt's Creek, and for me, the series that I absolutely love, which is What We Do in the Shadows, which the remake of the Taika Waititi mockumentary that came out a
Yeah,
few years ago. The US version of that on FX is absolutely brilliant, and needs to be seen. It has such a good cast as well, with Kaivan Novak in there, and what's his name from Yes, I Can Hear You, Clem Fandango, Matt Berry.
Matt Berry. Yeah,
Matt Berry's in there as well, man. He's so good,
yeah,
so good. I love him. So that's nominated as well. And then Outstanding Limited Series, where you've got Little Fires Everywhere, which is the new Reese Witherspoon Hulu show, Mrs. America with Kate Blanchett, Unbelievable, Unorthodox, and then for me, the series that blew my mind last year, that I thought was the best piece of television I've seen in a long time, was actually Watchmen, which, as a big fan of the graphic novel and even of the movie, this kind of sequel series is a mind blower. It's absolutely amazing.
yeah. I've not seen it
Um,
yet.
oh, it is so good, and it takes the current climate of race politics in the US and around the world to the next level. Really, it's absolutely incredible, and also good to see that Regina King, who plays the lead in Watchmen, is also nominated for the Outstanding Lead Actress in a Limited Series or Movie, alongside Kerry Washington from Little Fires Everywhere, Kate Blanchett, Mrs. America, Octavia Spencer from Self Made, and Shira Huss from Unorthodox. So I think this year's Emmys are going to be really tight. There's going to be a
Yeah,
lot of big omissions from the winners. I really want to see Watchmen picking stuff up because I think it's a really important show and really important for the age that we're in
I need to watch it.
today. Yeah. How about yourself? What have you picked up on the news this week?
I've got a couple of little bits of news.
Mm.
I'll plow through. So both TV related. First one, in fact, going back to it's Gav's question about
Hmm.
sequels and him wishing there was a Dread sequel. He will be pleased to know. Well, he might be that there is a Dread TV series in. It's been written, it's been finalized, and everything. But I think it was reported this week that it's been put on hold just because of the coronavirus
But is
situation.
it starring Carl Urban?
Well, it's thought that that it might star Carl Urban. They want him back for it,
Hmm.
and also Sylvester Stallone, which I'm not sure.
What? Both of them?
Yeah, well, they might want him to put like an appearance in. Is what I've
I
read,
am the law.
which is probably best. Well, we couldn't mention that in the sequels thing because it wasn't a sequel, was it? It was just awful. But I would really look forward to a Judge Dredd series. I think it would work brilliantly as a series.
It would. Budget worries me. That's the only thing I'd say.
Yeah, they need to do it justice, I
But that's the
think.
kind of thing Amazon
Justice.
could pick up in their. That's the kind of thing Amazon could pick up, so easily. They've invested in so many shows at the moment, and
Yeah.
a product like Dread as well. It's just such a well-known brand name, And if you can get Carl Urban in there, then why the hell not? I mean, they've got him on The Boys already. He's brilliant in The Boys.
Mhm.
English accent notwithstanding, it's truly a terrible English accent. But if you can get him in Dread, do it. Let's do it. Let's go,
Yeah.
Amazon or Netflix. Someone just pick this up and
The
go.
script has been written, so it's out there.
Wow.
It's hopefully going to be picked up. So that's good. And then the other one, which is a game TV crossover, which I'm quite excited about, and I sent you an article about this in the week when I saw it, was about the Splinter Cell anime series, which has been potentially picked up by Netflix. And I think that could be great. I mean, I'm a big fan of the original Splinter Cell game, well, and the other games that followed it as well. I thought they were fantastic. We've got good memories of playing those. And yeah, so supposedly this has been picked up. Well, Netflix and Ubisoft have teamed up for it. So Ubisoft being the maker of the game. So I think it could be really good, and it's got Derek Kolstad on board, and he's the writer for the John Wick franchise.
That's right. He wrote all three of them, didn't he?
Yeah, I believe so. And he's on as a writer and executive producer for the series. So I think it could be great.
I'm on board. I hope they bring Sam Fisher, into the old Sam Fisher. I don't want to see young Fisher. That's not what I'm interested in. But I did know that obviously Tom Hardy for a long time has been attached to a Splinter Cell movie. I think since the start of this decade or the last decade. And he's still attached on IMDb, so I don't know what's going on with that one.
No.
But this is good for me. I love this game franchise. It's one of my favorite franchises on modern consoles.
Yeah.
And I would love to see them bring this to TV because it tells me that they may be working on a tie-in game.
I think it worked really well as an anime as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's huge news.
Yeah, that's good. And then a couple of other just really quick little bits. So I've got this because I picked it up just because the premise of this film sounds ridiculous. So Amy Adams, who you might know from American Hustle and Justice League and lots of other things, she is potentially going to be working on an adaptation of an upcoming novel called Night Bitch. And I'll just read this because
is it Night with a K or Night with an N?
Night with an N, but I'll just read this word for word because it's brilliant. So, exposing the absurd and feral truths of motherhood, Night Bitch is described as a darkly comedic story about an unnamed woman and former artist who is thrust into stay-at-home domesticality after the birth of her son, who becomes increasingly worried that she may be turning into a dog.
What? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Did you say dog?
Dog, yeah, dog.
Okay.
I mean, I just saw it in the news. I thought, wow, that is
darkly
absurd.
comic. I'm on board.
Yeah.
I'm on board. I really like Amy Adams. I think she's absolutely
really
awesome in
Yeah.
everything she's ever been in. I think she's an incredible actress. I
And
love
then
that you
just
picked her out as starring in Justice League, though. Like, who remembers her starring in Justice League?
Yes, it's just from the list of credits that I got. And then I think the most important bit of news that I've heard all week is that Courtney Cox is going to be reprising her role as reporter Gail Weathers in the upcoming Scream 5 sequel.
That's definitely the most important news.
Yeah.
Who else is attached to that? Is there anyone else involved in that?
I didn't look that
Campbell
far
survive
into it.
Scream 4?
I don't know. I can't remember. I don't care. I didn't look into it.
Who cares?
I got bored.
Yeah. No, I mean, no one cares. That series is done. I mean, isn't it on TV now? I thought they had a Scream TV show.
I don't care.
Yeah. Who cares?
No, I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, thanks for bringing it to our attention anyway,
Yeah, I
and
thought
that of our
why not?
listeners.
Why not? Gale Weathers is the thing. I mean,
Oh yeah,
Gale
Gale
Weather,
Weathers. Do you see what they did there?
brilliant.
Gale Weathers. I saw some news this week where AMC and Universal finally agreed to a revenue share deal for their video on demand releases. Basically, Universal started pushing out loads of their content, loads of their new release movies. I think the Trolls movie this summer was one of the big ones. Straight onto video on demand, meaning that the theaters who've been waiting for that revenue were going to miss out. So
Yeah,
AMC, who also own Odeon in Europe, had basically embargoed all Universal releases from their cinemas, saying that when they reopen, they're not going to show the likes of Jurassic World and others.
yeah,
But in this case, they have now actually decided to tie the knot on the deal, and now they're actually going to share some of the revenue when Universal decides to push their content onto video on demand. So this is likely to see other studios following up. My one concern about this is that it's just gonna it's like the straw that broke the camel's back. Basically, it
mm,
means that content is going to be available on demand immediately, as at the same time it's in theaters, meaning that streaming and pirating is going to be even more overbearing for that channel.
yeah.
So, it's going to really decrease the need for people to go to theaters. So, we've been waiting for this to happen for a long time. And yeah, it'll be a sad day. I mean, at the same time, we're all waiting for a lot of, content that we've been waiting to see, like the new Bond movie, for example, and Tenet to come out. So, there is a good thing there, but
Are they talking
also,
about it being temporary though, or it's going to be like?
no, this is a long-term strategy for
Wow, that
Universal.
really will change the
Yeah.
way that people watch. I mean, you can see it happening just with the way that things are so
Yeah.
instantly available now.
Yeah, and Universal have actually said that they're holding back their tentpole content and releases
Right.
for cinema only, but that's yet to be seen. I mean,
Yeah.
Trolls was a huge move in the fact they released that way,
They weren't
with a
happy, were
$20
they?
price tag. No, no, AMC were not happy about that.
Mm.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that starts to pan out. But no doubt Warner Brothers, Sony, they're all going to start trying to chip away at this. Disney,
Yeah.
have obviously got their own channels to push it out through. So we'll see more on that in the coming months for sure. We also found out Tenet is being released apparently on August the 24th in Europe, and that includes the UK, France, Spain, Germany, and potentially Labor Day weekend in the US. So fingers crossed, it's coming out, guys. Just
At
hold on a
some
little bit
time or
longer.
another.
It will be out at some point. So we really want to see that. Pixar also announced the new release of Luca, which is the debut of Italian filmmaker Enrico Casarosa, who previously helmed Pixar's short La Luna. And according to a brief synopsis, Luca will introduce a boy named Luca as he experiences an unforgettable summer in a seaside town on the Italian Riviera. Been a while
Ooh.
since I've loved a Pixar movie, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Um, the last one I kind of moderately liked was Coco. I quite enjoyed that. I don't know if you saw that one.
No, I didn't see that.
The Day of the Dead in Mexico set
Oh, yeah.
um, was pretty cool. As a musician, you should definitely check that one out.
Mm.
But nothing for me has really been up there with the likes of Wally and Ratatouille, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, I love both of those.
And then in Star Wars news, Disney Plus have or are about to allegedly announce Donald Glover returning as a young Lando Calrissian for a so far unconfirmed TV series
Mm.
on Disney Plus. What did you think of his performance in Solo?
I liked it. I thought it
Yeah,
was really
me
good.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
think
mean, he's no
he
Billy
did a
D.
good job.
Williams.
Nope. Who
The
is?
players
Apart from
came from
Billy
the
D.
Death
Williams.
Star. Um, no Billy D. Williams. I love Billy D. Williams.
Yeah.
He is a god, you old pirate. Um, but I'm up for that. Any kind of anything that brings for me Donald Glover and Lando Calrissian onto TV screens is good enough for me. So
I want to see the blue cape.
yes, bring out the cape. Bring out the cape. And then in trailers, I saw the trailer for the new Simon Pegg and Nick Frost written TV comedy on Amazon, Truth Seekers, about part-time paranormal investigators who are looking into spooky goings on, filming it, and then posting it online. And this is coming out sometime later this year on Amazon Prime. Looks fun. It to me looks like it's more of a Nick Frost vehicle than a Simon Pegg vehicle. Nick Frost appears to be in a couple of scenes wearing the same outfit or costume, which always makes me think he's got a walk-on role, not necessarily a lead role. But
Right.
they do co-write it, so it's
Mhm.
bound to be in keeping with lots of the other stuff like Paul that they've co-written in the past as well. So looking forward to that one. Did you watch any trailers? See any trailers this week?
I did. I watched I watched one for the new Liam Neeson film, Honest Thief, which is a new action thriller, and it's just another in the long line of Liam Neeson. I don't know how
I
Liam
will
Neeson.
find you,
It's
and I
basically
will steal from you.
it's basically that, and
Or does he call them afterwards and say, "I've stolen from you"? Because
well,
he's the honest. I did find you, and I did steal from you.
and you liked it. I think
I'm just being honest, thief.
so. This has got it's got Liam Neeson and Robert Patrick in it. Um, it looks insane, and just like a lot of
Sold.
I want to see it. So it's about Liam Neeson is a notorious bank robber, and he wants to turn himself in to the FBI because he's found love and wants a reduced sentence if he helps them
What?
out. Yeah, but then as he's turning himself into the FBI, two FBI agents find the money because he told them where it is, and they sort of go rogue and they want to steal the money. So they start this whole. They try to kill him, and he basically goes nuts, and he's on the run from the FBI because they think he shot someone, and it just looks mental. The tagline in it is great. It's "Never steal a man's second chance." It looks great, but awful at the same
What does
time.
that even mean? What does that even
I
mean? Never
I don't.
steal a man's second chance.
Well, yeah. I
Fantastic.
it and he does go full on like he's over the phone like I will find you. He does it. He does it all on the phone.
I've stolen
Uh,
from you. I'm an honest thief. I found you, and I stole from you.
I just want a reduced sentence.
My name's John. You could
I
find me
found
here.
love.
Oh dear.
So yeah, that looks a bit mental. That's out on the 9th of October.
Okay.
And the other one I watched, which looked really interesting, is for Kajillionaire. I don't know if you've seen this. This is the new Evan Rachel Wood comedy. Also starring Deborah Winger and Gina Rodriguez and Richard Jenkins, who plays.
Solid cast.
Yeah, it's really good. And so Deborah Winger and Richard Jenkins play Evan Rachel Wood's parents. It's a bit weird. It's a comedy about her parents are con artists, and she's grown up with being just taught to swindle and scam anyone at any point. And the trailer just sees them ripping off people, nicking stuff. And it looks pretty funny. And I think apparently, according to the trailer, it looks like they're planning another heist, but they need some help, so they hire Gina Rodriguez, and the daughter Evan Rachel Wood isn't sort of happy about it because they're used to being a tight knit threesome of family. But it looks very odd, and it looks like Evan Rachel Wood's playing a character that's a lot younger than she is. Like they're making her look sort of teenage girlish, which is a bit odd.
That's
But
weird.
it's it does look the way it's shot. It looks very out there. It looks pretty crazy and quite a different role, I think, for Evan Rachel Wood as well, who's good in most things that she does. So
Kajillionaire.
yeah, Kajillionaire. That's out on the 18th of September. Yeah, looks like fun.
Very cool. Very cool. So, in this week's review section, we have Netflix's Umbrella Academy. I sat down to watch 2 episodes of this one. There will be some spoilers for season 1. So, if you haven't seen season 1, maybe just skip forward a little bit. Nothing too heavy, but just to detail some of the plot points here. So, the Umbrella Academy is based on Gerard Way, who is the lead singer of the emo band My Chemical Romance, and Gabriel Barr's graphic novel of the same name. This show centers around the Hargreaves family, 7 adopted children including the likes of Ellen Page, Robert Sheehan, and Britt Tom Hopper, who were all born on the same day, groomed into becoming a child crime-fighting superhero team by their father/mentor, Sir Reginald Hargreaves, and Pogo, his talking chimpanzee servant. Essentially, this is X-Men for the emo generation. So, season one focused on the now grown up Hargreaves clan reuniting after the death of their adoptive father to face a whole new enemy, which was basically the end of the world as we know it. So, it was really nice to see season one, where they kind of start out harking back to the glory days, but we never actually see them as kids. We actually only catch up with them when they're grown up, jaded. They've all been in the four corners of the world, reuniting after the death of their dad. Season two follows a similar path, albeit with a whole new Back to the Future Part 2 type of setting. Here, with our unreliable heroes thrown through time into an early 60s Texas period, following a cataclysmic end of days occurrence seen in the final episode of season one. So we now follow the Hargreaves siblings as they attempt to reunite to face another apocalyptic challenge, this time posed by an invading Russian army, while also attempting to alter the flow of time by erasing the assassination of JFK in 1963. None of which are spoilers, as they're all presented, by the way, in the first 5 minutes of episode one, season two.
Right.
Season one was very visually and audibly stylistic, with incredible CGI, cinematography, and soundtrack choices, including literally out of left field dance routines that the characters would sometimes do. It was critically acclaimed, reaching over 45 million households on Netflix's platform. So season two has a lot to live up to. However, season one was also slammed for being slightly too pondering, a little bit dark in tone, humor notwithstanding, and didn't feature enough blockbuster level moments of excitement, excluding the final episode, by the way, which was cataclysmic, as I mentioned before. Season two kicks off with an all-out team up for the ages against the aforementioned pesky Ruskies, the likes of which we didn't see in season one, and the kind of Marty McFly level time-hopping madness that really gives the rest of the season the legs needed to keep the interest level at nuclear. What's really interesting is that the seven siblings have been sent to different times in the same location of Dallas. So when we catch up with Vanya, for example, played by Ellen Page, she's hit by a car and loses her memory. Allison, we catch up to, is actually married and has been there the longest. She's actually been in the 60s for 2 or 3 years. Klaus has become a cult leader. Diego is a Sarah Connor-like inmate in an insane asylum. And Luther is a hired muscle for the future Oswald assassinator, Jack Ruby. So they've all been in the 60s for a different amount of time, even though they all entered at the same time. One of them went to 1960, one of them went to 1961, two of them went to 1963. So they've all kind of been there at different points, and therefore it's difficult for them to kind of meet up. And it's going to be really interesting to see, throughout the rest of the series, how they finally do that. Here we find more of a mail order Avon lady sheen to visuals, with bright sun, 60s pastel, slim Aaron's like color palettes, those amazing Palm Springs, cocktail party around the swimming pool type photos from the 60s and 70s. This is a near about 180 turn from season one's morose and dark corners, less Addams Family and more Stepford Wives. And it works because the humor is always set to dark. Yet now we can kind of relax and enjoy proceedings and laugh along with it without the anxiety that at any moment we'll laugh at the wrong point. Standout performances in season one were Robert Sheehan as the ghost summoning Klaus. Here, still haunted by his deadpan ghost brother Ben Hargreaves, to hilarious effect, and perennial schoolboy number 5, played by Aidan Gallagher. Number 5 is the fifth brother or the fifth sibling. And he was basically the doomsday clock for the previous episode. Here again, with his time jumping antics, we get given glimpses into the ghost of apocalypses yet to come. Number 5 is most interesting because when he finally emerges in season one, we learn that he's actually lived for 45 years in a post-apocalyptic future. But when he returns to the present in season one, he returns with the body that he left in. So he's still basically a 12-year-old boy in a school uniform, but he's lived for, basically 60 years,
A lifetime.
a lifetime. Yeah. So he's the oldest, in maturity out of all of the characters. They're all in their 30s. And the two continue to play really well in season 2, but we also get a lighter side finally to Ellen Page's Vanya, which was much needed after her previous slide into darkness, and a really nicely worked 60s civil rights storyline involving the African American Hargreaves family member Allison and her new husband, played by Yusuf Gatewood. Here, they're navigating the storm of institutional racism in the 60s set period. There's a really nice scene where Allison emerges in the 60s at the same time as everybody else. In this case, she arrives and goes to the diner across the street, and there's a sign that says "No blacks," and they point to it, and she's not allowed entry, which would be really difficult for someone of our period to contend with, as you can imagine. So there's a lot of interest around this. I think this is going to be another smash hit. If, like me, you were a little bit unsure of season 1, or maybe you got bored along the way, I, for example, watched that over a period of a few months. I didn't binge the whole thing, although I know some people that did. I'd say it's worth catching up. I'm 2 episodes in here, but I feel that the new setting allowed the characters to unite the dark and stormy shackles of their previous season, followed by the increase in comedic and nerd-friendly script moments. Obviously, a lot of time-jumping references in the script here to time jump movies. Broken up by some genuine tentpole moments of daring do and excitement, which is going to offer up a whole new slice of weird. So this is familiar yet new at the same time. It's a reboot of a rehash of a superhero story that's been told time and time again, except here with the right balance of self-knowing and cliche that makes this an interesting watch, and most definitely one of the most highly recommended watches that we've had the pleasure of reviewing this summer. So the Umbrella Academy Season 2 is out now for everyone to watch the entire show on Netflix. If you haven't seen Season 1, do it. If you have watched Season 1 but were giving this wasn't quite sure about it, jump straight in. Don't even think about it. The first 5 minutes will have you absolutely hooked. So that was this week's review. We're going to now move on to the classic 1995. Kevin Costner with gills behind his ears,
And
of
webbed
course.
feet.
And webbed feet. Really weird looking webbed feet, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Video Store Corner's take on Waterworld. Dry land is not a myth. I have seen it. Phil,
Yes.
do you remember seeing this movie back in the day?
I do.
Did you see it in theaters?
No, I didn't see it. I don't think I saw it at the cinema when it came out. I remember all of the hype about it, though. I mean, I would have been, what, 10? 95 it was. Yeah, 10. So it's... Yeah, I think it's... I didn't see it then, but I did see it pretty soon after it was released. And I think I might have seen it once a few years later. But watching it this past week was the first time I'd seen it in a long time. I haven't seen it on TV or anything like that since, in the last sort of, at least 10 years, at least.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I watched it. And I must say, because I got this recollection of it being slammed and, it was the massive, like the biggest budget film of all time when it came out.
Yeah.
Although it was pipped by Titanic shortly after. But
True.
It was... I think it's one of those films that everyone goes, "Oh yeah, Waterworld, that rubbish film that was like slammed and stuff." But it's not that bad. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, you can see where the budget went on this thing. It's insanely... You could just tell that they spent a lot of money on it. It's one of those films.
It's insanely
where
insane.
It's such large scale. The sets on it are huge, and everything... It's all practical as well, isn't it? I know there's bits of CGI and stuff around, but it's all practical. You can just see it's a proper blockbuster for its time. I think the cast is good. I think Kevin Costner's one of those actors who's a bit Marmite, isn't he? You either love him or hate him. Carly, my
Yeah.
wife, she's got an irrational hate of Kevin Costner, apart from in Prince of Thieves.
Good, because I was about to fly over there and very violent. I was about to cut her heart out with a spoon. No, you got to ask me now. You have to ask me now. Why
Why
a spoon?
a spoon?
Because it hurts more, you twit.
I love that. So yeah, and obviously to link that together, Kevin Reynolds, the director of Waterworld, also directed Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few things I like about it. One thing that I really loved was, and it's such a silly little detail, but when it opens up, it's because the studio is Universal, and we all know that the Universal logo is a globe with, and Universal comes on at the beginning, and it pans round. You know, the text, the Universal text, sort of pans round the Earth while the Earth's spinning. But then they carry on because it's Waterworld. So the Earth, the text goes away, the Universal text as it normally would, but then it zooms into the Earth and it keeps turning around, and then you see it all flood.
Yeah.
And then it zooms down onto the Earth and down to his boat that he's on. It's genius.
Yeah.
I love little details like that. I like it when they do little.
But have you ever seen a movie? When was the last time you saw a movie where there was an actual narrator, like a trailer narrator? You know, in a
It's
world.
a proper trailer narrator at the beginning.
How weird is that? It starts. The Universal logo gets all watery, and the world goes underwater, and we hear the polar ice caps have melted, covering the Earth with water. Those who survived have adapted to a new world. And then it just zooms in on.
They just do that with text now.
Yeah,
like just text to come up on the screen.
Yeah. I mean, they've always done that. When have you ever seen a movie where there's a narrator that narrates the intro like that?
No, apart from like completely different genre type things, maybe like the Princess
Magnolia
Bride, or like when it's part of the story that there's a narrator.
Yeah.
No, hardly ever. It's I did find that a bit odd actually, but I quite liked it. It felt 90s because of it.
It did. It felt weird because of it, to be honest. It felt very weird, but I love it, and I completely agree with you. This is a movie I didn't see this in theaters either. I remember. I think I was in Dublin when this came out, and
to be sure,
and I for some reason my parents didn't go see it. I think because it had such bad reviews. They were like, no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see it. And I've watched it a lot since, because I remember watching it on Sky when I was a kid, you know, on cable at home. And loving it and watching it a load. And this really took me back to watching it, you know, in my bedroom on TV, chilling. And, you know, all the little moments in there that I remembered so vividly from that time. I really like this. I think it's a really good movie. I think it's a genuinely good movie. It's
apart
a bit dated.
Scene.
Yeah.
Because the first scene is the first scene when it zooms into Kevin Costner on the boat is him pissing into a bottle, like from behind. And you just see it when he finishes his, and drinking it.
No, but the first scene is Kevin Costner pissing into a bottle and then drinking it.
Yeah, but when he finishes pissing, he's like clenches his butt cheeks to you know, get the final drop out, and it's just too much.
I didn't notice him pinching his butt cheeks to get the final drop out, Phil. I think that's Kevin. All on you. I think Kevin. I think you've been in quarantine too long.
Oh, he's drinking
No, I think you've been in quarantine too long.
He does filter the piss first. It's not straight.
Well, allegedly, we're never actually told that. We just see him filter it, so it's a bit unusual.
Does it for show to make him feel like he's filtering it,
clenching his buttocks. I tell you what, I did love about that scene when the pirate trader comes along, and then we see and he asks him about his boat, and he says, "Oh, I've seen that boat before." They're actually speaking in a language I assumed it was made up. It's actually Hindi.
It's Hindi, yeah.
So they're actually which I thought was really cool.
And I say that like I understand Hindi. It's just because I've read that as well. It's Hindi.
Oh, you read that? Okay. Yeah. I actually, the reason I saw it is because I was watching it on Netflix with the subtitles on, and it came up saying in Hindi, and then it translated what he was saying, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh, that is cool. I've got some other cool facts that we can talk about.
Go on.
Oh, you want? Should I go into them?
Go
So,
on.
for my favorite trivia section of IMDb. So, as I said earlier, prior to Titanic in it was 97, wasn't it? Titanic. This
Mm-hmm.
was the most expensive film ever produced, and as I said, you can see why when the set is insane. Weirdly, the huge set, which is, I think it's about a quarter of it's a huge floating set, the atoll, which
Yeah.
is like the city that's in it at the beginning, the floating city, and it was 1,000 tons, and I think it took up like it was a quarter of a mile in length, and
It's
it cost
spectacular, isn't it?
$22 million to build the set.
Off the coast of Hawaii.
Yeah, but apparently that set, this is a weird one, had no toilets. It had like 30 boats and a quarter of a mile of set, and $22 million. They didn't put any toilets on it, so they had
Well, I
to
think we know where the toilet is. It's where they try to sacrifice Kevin
where
Costner,
they
isn't it, in
roll
the
the
cage,
corpses into.
and they roll the corpses in the bubbling, festering pit of shit.
Floating shit. But yeah, so they had to ferry cast and crew like near the shore to like a barge that had toilets on it. It's like,
That's
just put some
absolutely
toilets on the
ridiculous.
$22 million set.
It's an incredible set, though, and I know
It is.
it's funny that Universal didn't learn from the issues they had on Jurassic Park when they were making Jurassic Park in production. Like Jurassic Park, there was an actual hurricane that
Yeah,
halted production for a
it
significant amount of
kept putting them
time.
back. Yeah,
Same thing happened on Waterworld 2 years later. What were they
yeah,
thinking filming
yeah.
in Hawaii? And it actually sunk the entire atoll set, which meant that they had to then rebuild it in its entirety.
See where the bloody budget went.
And there goes the budget.
Yeah. So apparently Kevin Costner was on set for 157 days, working 6 days a
Well, you can
week.
tell by his suntan, can't you?
Yeah, he does look like he's been out in the sun a long time.
Sun blasted.
Yeah.
When I ask for a steak now, I just say Kevin Costner, Waterworld.
Oh right, yeah, orange. He apparently, and I don't know if this is true, but he demanded that the visual effects crew hide his receding hairline digitally.
What?
Which, yeah,
Did
I'm
that
not
actually
sure if
work
that's
though?
true.
Because
Well, I
it's
don't know.
definitely receding. It's because he's swimming as well, makes his hair wet, so you can't really see his hair.
Yeah, I heard that he got so obviously he spends the whole film pretty much soaking wet, doesn't he, or in the water,
Mm, mm.
and
I think you were
apparently,
soaking wet from the sound of things, watching his buttocks tense.
oh, Kevin, and he, I think in an interview that he did on TV around the time
Mm.
of its release was that he said that he was like really good friends with the crew and stuff, but he actually grew to resent them quite a lot when they were just throwing water over him, like buckets of water over him constantly, like without fail, because he had to be soaking wet the whole time. And I can imagine that being quite draining after 157 days.
100%. Yeah. I was thinking
um,
that because there were so many scenes where he's just jumped out of the ocean,
yeah,
or he's looking like he's just emerged from swimming somewhere.
yeah,
Um, and then he has to do a load of dialogue with Gene Triplehorn, and it's
yeah.
like, well, what is he? How long has he been stood there with that soaking water dripping off of his hair? But he was all in on this. He was full method. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He was going for it.
definitely. He's a bit of an arsehole in it as well, especially at the beginning. I think that's the point, isn't it? He's an arsehole at the beginning
Well,
and he's
this is
not at
what I
the
wanted
end.
to mention. I wanted to mention this to you. He's a real son of a bitch in this.
Yeah.
Apparently, Kevin Reynolds wanted him to be this kind of stoic hero, man of few words, like one of the old Sergio Leone,
Mm.
spaghetti western type anti-heroes. Kevin Costner wanted him to be much more, swashbuckling, Errol Flynn type, Peter Pan jumping around, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when we actually see Kevin Costner interact with other people, he is a real dick. And there's a note by the English bad guy, the big ginger guy. I can't remember his name. if he even has a name.
His name is Nord.
Nord.
He
And
plays
he
the
meets him
judge in Batman Begins. Just to let you know.
Yes, he does. Yes, he
And
does.
he also died a few years ago, which is a shame.
But
Sorry.
I love him in this because when Kevin Costner goes up to the bar and he's like, "Oh, I'll have a glass of whatever it is, what do they call it, aqua or whatever," which is obviously
Yeah.
just
Hydro.
filtered water, hydro. That's it. I'll have a glass of hydro. And he comes up and he goes, "Oh, I'll make it 2 hydros. I'll join you. I'll join you." And then obviously he just goes, like I said, 1 hydro. And then
Yeah.
later on, the bad guy's like, "You should have bought me that drink." And he's kind of got a point. He's kind of got a point.
Yeah, it's
Um,
true. Yeah, there's
for
a lot of good
me,
lines.
no good things have ever come from not buying someone a drink. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when Jean Triplehorn and as Helen and the young girl Enola are on his boat, on his catamaran, and they're kind of sailing off. He beats up a naked Helen with an oar, throws a small child overboard
But can't
into the
swim.
wake of the boat who can't swim,
He didn't know that,
and
but still.
then cuts both of their hair off in a rage,
He
and
does go
then pimps
overboard
Helen out for a
to get
piece
to
of
the pub.
paper,
For a bit of paper.
and then
Yeah.
changes his mind. He's like, "Actually, do you know what? Actually, no.
I think this is unacceptable.
Yes, I think this might be unacceptable.
I might have
In
gone
this
too
day and
far.
age, you would never see this happening in a movie. This was, massively dated, and it shows. I mean, it's a quarter of a century old. It's 25 years old this
Yeah, that's
week.
why we picked up on it, I think, wasn't it? Because we saw, I think I said to you, do you realize that Waterworld's 25 years old?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, what? No, it's not. Oh, it
But that I
is.
think what would you say is your best scene?
Any of them with Dennis Hopper in. I love his character in it. He's such a
Deacon.
dickhead. Deacon, yeah, he's great, and I like it when because well, he blames him for his eye coming out, but that's clearly it's not. It's his sort of henchman's
Well,
incompetence.
he does pull the boat so that the guy keeps firing and
Yeah,
then
but the guy keeps firing
blows up this sack of
in a
oil.
fit of rage.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dennis Hopper gets an eye out, doesn't he? And I made a note about when there's a scene where he pulls up his eye patch because they're looking out for him in the thing after that he's got away from him a couple of times, and then he close up to Dennis Hopper, pulls the eye patch up, and he's like, "We gotta keep an eye out," because he's only got one eye.
I see what he did there.
Yeah,
He's outstanding in this.
he's
This was coming off
brilliant.
the back of Speed as well, because obviously he was a
Yeah,
great villain in Speed.
yeah. Really made me want a cigarette though, because he smokes permanently in this film. Everyone
Not only does he
smokes.
smoke permanently, but he's throwing cigarettes out to everybody around him. Just
Yeah,
handfuls of cigarettes.
I can't see in that situation where things are really, really hard to come by. Like, how did they get such a quantity of cigarettes? And I don't think you'd be throwing them out in the quantities that they did.
I feel like, shipping containers. I feel like there are probably shipping containers that are full of cigarettes, full
Yeah,
of,
and they probably
Jack
thought, well, we're
Daniels
not going to live
whiskey.
that long anyway.
Exactly. So they probably, they're pirates. They're
Because
plundering.
they're on the Exxon Valdez, aren't they? The massive
They are.
tanker.
They
Yeah.
are.
Fun fact though about the Deacon character. Do you want to hear the list of awesome names that were turned down for the role of this?
Go on.
Gene Hackman, James Caan,
Wow.
Samuel L. Jackson, Gary Busey, Lawrence Fishburne, and Gary Oldman.
I'd like to have seen all of them.
Yeah.
All of them. But they were definitely going for a type, weren't they? This like alpha, crazed, slightly older gentleman.
Yeah. But any of those would have worked really well
Yeah.
as Deacon. Funnily enough, there's a little link there. If Samuel Jackson had got it, he also, which he didn't, obviously, but Samuel Jackson.
He would, he would have said if Michael Jackson, if Samuel L. Jackson was in there,
he would have just added a motherfucker to the end.
He would have said, "I've had enough of this motherfucking water on this motherfucking world."
Yeah. But then he goes on to play Nick Fury, who's also bald like Deacon and also has an eye patch.
True story.
So he got his bald eye patch fix later on in life.
I wish when we were trying to figure out how Nick Fury lost his eye, that it wasn't scratched out by a space cat. It was actually by Kevin Costner pulling a boat with a machine gun that fired into him and blew up his oil rig. And
That would have
as
been
he dived in the
amazing.
ocean, it exploded his eyeball.
What a link that would have been.
That's incredible. I love all those actors. So that would have been absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Gary
I really
Oldman
like.
would have been phenomenal as Deacon.
He would have been
Like,
fucking phenomenal.
He plays the crazed bad guy well, as we know from The Fifth Element.
Well, just going back and speaking of the Avengers with Nick Fury there, Joss Whedon actually did an uncredited script draft on this. And essentially, he was tasked with putting all of Kevin Costner's own ideas into the screenplay at the behest of Kevin Reynolds. Yeah.
Okay.
He actually, to this day, he calls himself the world's highest paid stenographer and called the experience 7 weeks in hell. So, but yeah, I mean, really interesting. Also, the fact that the script was co-written by David Toohey, who, in later years wrote and directed Pitch Black with Vin Diesel.
Oh, yeah.
And the Chronicles of Riddick and so on, of course. For me, like growing up with this, I thought this was an original movie. Having then grown up and seen all of the Mad Max movies, I did then realize that this was just a rip-off of Mad Max without
It's Mad
desert.
Max on the water, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly it. I mean, in every way, shape, or form, except without the R rating.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I want to know if you noticed, you know, the scene in this where you've got the pilot.
Oh,
of the
just
plane.
Before you say that, by the way,
before
you say that, I was going to say, speaking of Mad Max, Dean Semler, the cinematographer, shot the first 2 Mad Max movies.
Oh, so he knew what he was doing in the post-apocalyptic.
I went for the same thing.
Yeah,
the same look. Yeah.
And
Sorry, what were you saying?
what I was going to say was, I didn't know if you noticed this, but there's the scene with the pilot in the plane, and he's got like a gunner, and they're circling around his boat trying to shoot him,
and they hit him with it's like the Hoth assault with the snow speeder when they start wrapping the boat up.
It's like wrapping it around the mast.
They fire the grappling hook into the plane from the boat, and it kills the guy in the back. Yeah.
Do you know who the pilot is?
Is it Jack Black?
It's Jack Black. I didn't know. Jack Black's been in everything, isn't he?
It's pretty crazy. I didn't know that until I looked it up afterwards. I'll be honest, but
I couldn't. I'm normally really good at telling like those little rock, but I didn't notice that was him.
That same year, he must have gone from Waterworld onto Cable Guy.
Yeah,
Jim Carrey. It's pretty crazy. It was actually only his 5th movie for Waterworld, so he was fresh.
He was well fresh.
Yeah.
What year was Never?
Sorry, I ruined your fact there, didn't I? Completely ruined
bastard. You bastard.
Did you know that Kevin Costner nearly died during a sequence when he was lashed to the mast of his boat, and the boat drifted off to sea without anyone else on it, and it took nearly half an hour for the rescue team to reach Kevin Costner and untie him?
I reckon that was the visual effects guys that had tied him to it because they didn't want to do his hairline in post.
Yeah. Let me off this fucking boat. Someone better let me off. Just sailing off into the sunset. God damn it.
Bye, Kevin.
You're nothing without me, damn it. Oh God.
Dear.
I thought it was incredible. Also, it's interesting to note that there was a lot of turmoil on this. Basically, Kevin Reynolds, the director, who'd obviously worked with, as you mentioned, with Kevin Costner on Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He actually quit Waterworld 3 months before the film was released. So during the edit, when they're in the edit suite, leaving Kevin Costner to do the Edward Norton-like role of actually finishing editing the movie himself. So the cut that we see is the Kevin Costner cut of Waterworld, and apparently there's a lot more. There was a lot more that was cut out of this movie. It was obviously 2 minutes. I think
there is a version. I heard there's a version with about 20 extra minutes in it, 20 or 30 extra minutes. That's got a lot of extra scenes. I mean, it's already
not sure I could cope with that.
No, it's already 2.25 hours. It's already long enough.
Costner and Reynolds actually didn't bury the hatchet until they worked together again on the Emmy Award-winning 2012's miniseries Hatfield and McCoy's, the Western. But they buried the hatchet eventually. But yeah, there was a lot of bad blood between the two.
Mm.
Um, and there was also other issues where early in the shoot, Jean Triplehorn and Tina Majorino, who played the young Enola,
Yep.
were thrown from Kevin Costner's boat when the bowsprit snapped off, and they both nearly drowned. Apparently, a
Blimey.
team of 12 divers had to pull them out of the ocean.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Saying that, Tina, who plays Enola in that, is really good. She's a really good childlike kid actor.
yeah,
Did you know Enola is alone backwards?
I did. I did know
You're
that.
reading all my
Only
facts.
because
You already
there's
read them out.
no, I knew it because there's a song by the Welsh band Manic Street Preachers called Enola Alone,
Oh, okay.
and
Is
yeah,
that after?
that's why I knew
Did they
it.
do that from Waterworld?
Yeah, it's all about the child key to dry land in Waterworld.
Oh,
No.
oh. I'm sad about that. There should be.
Oh,
Oh, well, there we are. But yeah, Waterworld. Loved it after
I absolutely
watching
loved
it
it
again.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recommend watching it again. And by the way, one thing I found out is if you type Waterworld into all one word into Netflix, obviously Waterworld comes up if it's available in your region.
Yeah.
But second, Noah, the Noah's Ark story by Darren Aronofsky. So if you type Waterworld in Noah,
Someone's been having
obviously
fun with the tags there, aren't they?
without a doubt,
Related.
without a doubt. Because can you imagine someone going into Netflix and going, what was that biblical story? That's I can't remember. It's something to do with water world. It becomes a water world.
I really fancy watching
Noah, that was it.
a sea-based adventure today. I'll just put water into the thing.
No, but you have to put water world in for it to come up. Noah comes up.
I think they should bring up National Lampoon's Vacation just as a bit.
Wally World.
Wally World and Waterworld.
Speaking of which, did you ever get to see the Waterworld stunt show at the Universal Studios?
No, I think I've seen some footage of it though, but I never.
Yeah, with the high dive. Oh.
Yeah, I watched a similar one about pirates at Legoland. I bet it was just as good.
Were you the only grown man in the audience watching?
Yeah, this was
that
only
film?
last year.
Without children.
I just went on my own last year.
He's
great.
Lunatic. So that was Waterworld. I think 25th anniversary. If you love your cheesy action films, if you love your 90s movies, worth going back into and watching it. We both really enjoyed watching this again. And if you watch it, reach out to us. Let us know some of the fun moments in there. Not least of all, the moment when the English bad guy suddenly turns American before he's about to die and goes, "Ahoo! You should have stayed on the water." And then Kevin Costner blows him away. I don't know why he has an American accent all of a sudden, but it was very
he's got a weird
unusual
accent in it.
Oh, one last thing I wanted to say.
Yeah.
The scene at the end when they walk into the hut on dry land.
Oh,
and the burly guy with the beard that's kind of been cool to Kevin Costner the whole time, walks in, he sees the two skeletons in the hut laying on the bed. And he just randomly says, "We must put them under the dirt. I think it was their way."
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck does he know it was their way? How does he has no idea? He's never seen dry land.
No, it's meant to be like, there was like an interview that they never give away in the film what year it was set. But I think someone said later on, or in a making of book, someone mentions that it's like 22. I can't remember. It's or 25. I can't remember. It's really, really far in the future.
It's got to be thousands of years. They say centuries, don't they? But it's got to be thousands because humans are evolving, and that giant fucking fish monster that tries to eat Kevin Costner, that he then
that's really random. I thought
it's some kind of highly evolved CGI creature.
It's 2,500. Is it meant to be set? I just looked it up because I knew I'd read it. Yeah, 2,500.
Wow, I mean that's a lot of evolution in 5,000 years.
Yeah. Those cigarettes are doing quite well then, really.
They're doing all right, aren't they?
Surely they
God
just
knows
go
where they're
into
finding the tobacco.
I thought they just go into a puff of smoke, like, immediately light one. It's just a poof.
Good stuff.
And
We
Jack
absolutely
Daniels
loved
obviously
it.
got a good shelf life.
Oh yeah, Dennis Hopper even smashes a half-empty bottle of it,
How wasteful.
so it makes me think that he's got a ton of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a great movie, and highly recommended to rewatch it. Give it another look after all these years, and sure to be able to pull something fun out of that movie. So, on next week's podcast, we'll be bringing you another slice of movie and TV related podcast fun. But before then, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and please do subscribe on your podcast player of choice. Give us a nice 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And there's just one last thing to say, Phil, isn't there?
Is there?
Yes, there is.
What's that then?
Goodbye, Phil.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. This week's question comes from Gavin in the UK, and he says, "Hi, Miles and Phil. The other week, you guys talked about Dread, a movie I really wish they made a sequel to."
What the fuck was that?
Europe, mate. The sound of Europe. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun.
That's our first dance song.